This episode of Hak5 is brought to you by Domain.com.
Hello and welcome to Hak5. My name is Darren Kitchen.
And I'm Shannon Moore.
It's your weekly dose of technology.
Welcome everyone to our
tech
awesome
misbehave.
place. Wait, what?
It's
No,
not gonna stick.
wrong entry.
It's not gonna stick.
Wrong
is it?
entry.
There's still tech thing on the right there.
That's
right,
not,
Paul.
that's not
switch
my
to.
fault.
That
is not
You're
my
right.
fault. I did not
You're
do
right.
that. I did not
We
do that.
we're sharing a set. It's like, you know what? It's like we're dorm mates or something.
So I was thinking, because we have all this room back here and we have our new set somewhat like halfway built, we should hang a couple of cool skateboards up here.
Well, speaking of that, we've got a really cool skateboard on the way.
We do.
Don't want to give it away,
I'm so excited.
but there's cool stuff in the works on that front.
I'm thinking we need to go like
Yes.
just sticker the crap
Yes.
out of this thing.
Ooh, and then we could have people send in stickers.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, we'll feature your sticker or something. I don't know.
That's a cute idea. I like that.
You know, it'll be like when we invited everybody to send us their e-waste, and then we ended up with dot matrix printers. Every now and then, cool stuff though. Thank you for the Palm Pilots. Those
Yes.
were rad.
So I have been crazy busy, like getting tech thing all started up and everything, but I've also been working with the Arduino some more for my segments on Hak5 too.
Rad.
Lots and lots of fun. What have you been up to?
I have been working on pineapple goodness and also some drone stuff. Ooh,
Of course.
I should probably show you a photo. Let's see
boy.
if I have a way to do that.
A photo. This isn't a photo.
Okay, so this is a tiny video because it was made for Instagram, but this is me flying under a bridge up in Amador City. I'm going to show you guys the quadcopter.
That was you.
I've been having a lot of fun with that quadcopter.
That's
There's
cool.
some I'm bringing fun toys to Europe for Hack Across Europe, so hackacrosseurope.com, get signed up, let us know where we
awesome.
should go and visit the hackerspaces, and
Yay.
maybe we'll fly quadcopters through your space and or country. Let's see how many airspaces we
That'd
can
be so
violate
fun.
through multiple countries. So yeah, there was that going on, and then I guess the other big thing was our friend Jason. He hasn't been on the show in a while, but you remember this guy? He just helped me put a thing in a thing, and yes, that's Josette. That's Jason on Josette in the van.
Why?
Because Josette needed a new home, and now she's out this door. This is a door right here.
Oh,
We can just like whoop.
there's Josette.
You can barely see her, but anyway, she has a new home. So that's kind of what's going on with me.
That's awesome.
I will be, you know what? We got some fantastic feedback on that CH rooting with Crouton on your
Yes, we
Chromebook
did.
and setting up Linux. I will say, my hopes and dreams and desires deep within me are to adventure around the world with one tiny 2-pound laptop that is that HP Chromebook 11 because it's so lightweight and powers off micro USB, which means I can run it off the same battery packs that's recharging my quadcopters and recharging my Pineapple and phone and everything else. And then I was crushed.
Why?
Crushed, I tell you, over the weekend when it was great getting beautiful videography up in Drytown, Amador City, and Sutter Creek, fun gold country up in California. And it turns out there's no good way to edit on Chrome. There's basically Wii Video, I want to say.
Like
which
you
is
can
crap.
edit through the YouTube interface, but
The
it's,
problem with all of these editors is you have to upload your footage first. So I'm like,
Yeah.
great, I got like 5 gigs of GoPro footage, of which
Exactly.
I'm going to use like the cool 10-second clip of me like, you know, flying through orange groves or whatever it is. So I tried OpenShot, and I'm sure OpenShot is a fantastic open source nonlinear editor for Linux. However, I think I hit the wall when it comes to Linux on an ARM processor. So I will say that there's no chance
oh no.
to survive if you want
So
to
what are
edit
you
video on
gonna
a Chromebook.
do? You have
Maybe
to
if you've
stick
got
with
a
your
Pixel.
5-pound one.
No, I hate. I'm
It's like
bench pressing Lenovo's, man.
like
I'm gonna
5 pounds.
get ripped.
it's a pretty heavy laptop.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take that with me anywhere.
I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
You could try something like this.
The answer could
The
be
S7?
The answer could be. You know what? We were talking about this on DTNS the other day. There is finally a half-decent video editor for Android. It's called KineMaster, K-I-N-E Master.
Oh.
However, it does require a $5 a month subscription to render out in HD without their little bug in the corner, which is really annoying.
Yeah.
I think it's also just $40 a year if you're a really hardcore user. I've played with it and I like it, so maybe I'll do some more with that. but it's very particular about the video formats that it supports.
I see.
So it may just be more hassle than it's worth.
Yeah.
I mean, Adobe, just make Premiere for Linux. Anyway.
That would save
That's
a
my
lot
huge
of
gripe.
lives.
I should point this out, though. Based on all of that awesome feedback that we got on the Linux on your Chromebook, I wanted to point out, everybody sent me this. Kali Linux, you love Kali Lewis, and she loves Kali Linux, and it gets really recursive, and now you can put it on your Chromebook, and everybody sent me over to this, which is installing Kali Linux on your Chromebook with Crouton. It's basically the same steps that we went through, except what you want to do is use TAC-R, Kali, TAC-T, KDE, TAC-N, Kali, and that right there will get you going.
That's cool.
As opposed to just installing Ubuntu, you can get your Kali on with KDE because it's cool.
Because it's cute.
I still prefer XFCE, but you know, whatever. It's just window manager. Oh!
What?
Elementary OS. Sorry.
Oh, yes.
To everybody out there that's
OS.
been telling us, yes. Okay, I'm a firm believer now in the elementary OS. It's all the Ubuntu without all the Ubuntu you hate.
I've heard, and it sounds awesome.
You should
I'm
try
thinking I might need to try it.
You should try it. I bit the bullet and I got elementary OS as my base. You asked me what I did over the weekend. Sorry, I'm still going. And then popped, I hate to say this, but because Adobe doesn't just sell Premiere for the whole Creative Suite. Like I live in Premiere and Illustrator and Photoshop. I'm sorry. Like I know GIMP, you're great, and you know Inkscape, you're okay, and OpenShot, good luck. I can't help breaking this. I'm like, I'm an Adobe guy. I can't help it, right? And so since I've already bitten the bullet where it's like, okay, fine, I'm gonna buy proprietary software because it just works. Well, then I'm going to have to run it in a proprietary OS, either Windows or Linux. And when it comes to virtualization, Windows is just easier. So I'm just like, whatever. At least, you know, if I virtualize Windows.
You're running Windows?
At least if I virtualize Windows, I can just, you know, always have a fresh copy of it, right? Because then I can snapshot and keep reloading the.
Who are you and what did you do with Darren?
But
where did
then
Darren go?
Then I run that virtualized on top of elementary OS, and then I'm like, haha, see? At least on the underlying, it's Seb has been like at me for the longest time about this, and I'm telling him like, dude, you can't edit in OpenShot, or at least not in the way that I need to. If you saw that new Wi-Fi Pineapple video explaining PineAP, you'll understand. Like, dude,
yes.
You know, I need the
watch
After
that.
Effects.
It was pretty awesome. Way to go on that, by the way.
Thank you.
The only thing I did this weekend that was awesome was I went to the California Academy of Sciences.
You finally went.
That place is so cool. I went during the day, so I didn't do the whole nightlife thing, but it was awesome.
If you're ever in the San Francisco Bay Area, people are always asking, we get hit up a lot when like people come here on vacation, and they're like, hey, let's hang out. We should probably mention that we're actually not in San Francisco, we're just across the bay, but you know. And if you're looking for some fun, cool, geeky thing to do, and you happen to be here on a Thursday night, every Thursday night, the California Academy of Sciences does like a nightlife thing. It's 21 and up. And they've got DJs and a different theme every week, and there's a bunch of bars that pop up, and you get to science while you drink cocktails and mingle with other cool
because
nerds.
Because why not? Can you go up on the roof during the night?
Yes, you can.
Awesome. That's
and then
the
you
best
can
part.
see the moon. They've got the telescopes out and everything.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's what I
like
want to
the
do.
moon because it's made of cheese.
Well, duh. It actually has a rabbit on it, but, you know. You have to watch the documentary to actually know about that part. Moving on. I don't think everybody came here to actually watch us talk about what we did over the weekend. So why don't we get into it, huh?
Yes, let's get into it. In a bit, I am going to be talking about SSH Tunnels for your Android because I'm going across borders, and that means I get really paranoid every year when I go through this. So we'll be locking down our smartphones because last year we talked about all the ways to lock down your laptop. So I'll be focusing on that front.
Sweet. I'm going to be doing some Arduino stuff, so I almost said Android. So why don't we do that?
Androiduino would be an interesting. Yeah, let's get into it.
So you stay here because this is kind of cool, and I want to show you how this works. So you remember last time that I was on here with my Arduino and my little breadboard, and all I had it do was I pressed a button and it turned on, and then when I released the button, it just turned off.
Yeah, simple logic, but it's just...
It's simple logic.
It's C.
There's not much to it. It's C, so it's very easy to write, but it's kind of boring. And why would you want to keep your finger there on the button for a long time to keep a light on, right?
Okay,
so it doesn't make sense.
So like leveled up?
Yeah, so I leveled up. I built on top of that. I included another resistor. Thank you, everybody, for telling me to add all the resistors all the time. So I added another resistor, and I included the same LED, but this time I made it so I actually wrote 2 scripts, so I might as well just
show us the sketches.
Okay.
Walk us through the code.
So on my computer, here's the first one. So this is just to push the button so it turns on, and then when you push the button again, it just turns off. So I got the LED, it's onto pin 9, the button is pin 7, and then I'll show you those on the board.
So that's just setting it up, that's just declaring all of our variables.
Yeah, this is all set up, and then I have my comments over there. I can also upload this if anybody wants me to on, I guess, GitHub or somewhere. And then down here, starting right here, I have the setup. So I have the LED is going to be the output, the button is going to be the input, which means that the button's going to trigger the LED to do something.
I love that about how Android sketches, they make it so easy with those functions where they can just like set a mode as an in or an out.
Exactly. And then down here, we actually do the loop. So first off, we want to read the button value, and we want to store it to whatever it is. So if it's high, that means on. If it's low, that means that it's off. So whenever you actually look at the button, whenever it triggers the actual code, it's going to see, okay, is it currently on or is it currently off? And then it'll do the action based on that.
So you've just got an if, you've just got a loop with an if statement.
So if the value is high and the old value is low, then we're going to do state equals 1 minus state. So this means that it's going to change the state of the button from on to off or off to on, vice versa.
So wait, go back to that. Did you create a function for state? Is that what you did?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
State equals state, or
okay,
1
so you're
minus
delaying
state.
for 30, and then what do we do?
And then the delay is 30, so that means that it's going to wait 30 seconds between the time you took your finger off of it, so that it understands that you actually took your finger off of it, as opposed to just reading it like halfway through your button press.
Okay.
Because if you don't include a delay, what the Arduino will do, it'll look at that button press and it'll read it the entire time you're pressing it down. So it'll try to trigger the LED to go on and off.
So this means that it'll stay
really
on
quickly.
for 30 seconds?
It'll stay on, it'll read it, it'll read the button press, and then it'll wait 30 milliseconds until it reads another button press.
Milliseconds, there we go.
Yes.
Yeah, otherwise we'll say 30 seconds, this is going to be a really slow code.
And then down here we just store the old value of the button. And then we have another if-else statement down here. So if the state equals 1.
Right, otherwise do the inverse.
Yes, so we have high, and then else it'll be low, so that means it's off. So when I actually compile this and put it on my breadboard, and hopefully you can see this in the big screen right here, I press the button once.
Here, let me hold this up for you.
Thank you. Don't destroy my wires. So I press it once, and the LED comes on. Press it again, the LED goes off. Now I press it slowly down, and it still stays on instead of triggering it the entire time I'm pressing it down, because it's waiting that 30 milliseconds. Press it again, and I do it slowly. It still goes off because it's waiting 30 milliseconds.
You weren't just satisfied with it just going on
No,
and off, were you?
I wasn't. I was like, okay, that's cool, but I know LEDs can do more than that, so I can make it flash a billion times, or I can make it fade. So let's make it fade.
Let's make it fade. That sounds great.
So this is the other code for this one. I called it push button fade because that's duh. This is just where I'm setting it up. I have the same LED equals 9, button equals pin 7, the same value equals 0, and the old value equals 0. Up here I have state equals 0, and this one. So brightness. So brightness on an LED can be from 0 all the way up to 255. 255 is going to be the value of your LED. It can be the highest.
Yes,
Absolute
so
highest.
we do the same thing on the Wi-Fi Pineapple when it comes to GPIO, which is general purpose input and output. And in that case, 0 is low and 255 is high. And we use it as like an on-off.
Yeah.
We can trigger different things, and we don't actually have the ability to say on the Mark V to kind of like vary the intensity of the LEDs. LEDs could only be either 255 or 0.
Right.
But it's rad that you're actually able to do that and actually vary the voltage for it, and say 128 would be halfway in between off and fully on, and say it's wanting, what, I don't know, 3 volts, you're giving it 1.5.
Right. So if I just press it once, it's just going to trigger it at brightness of 128. So it's just going to be in the middle, regular brightness of an LED. If I hold it down, the point of this code is to make it fade from 0 all the way up to 255, and then wait a few milliseconds, and then restart that loop again, and go all the way up, go back down to 0, all the way up again. So it should do that as long as I'm holding down on the button. Now I do the setup right here,
So
same LED output, button input, Scroll down a little bit, and then we have our first loop. So this one looks a little bit more complicated, but most of it is just, most of it's just comments. Let me get back down there. Okay, so first we have our digital read button. So this means that it's just going to read the button value, whatever it's going to be.
Yep, and if the value is high,
if the value is high or on and the old one is off, then we do the same multiplication. So state equals 1 minus state, which changes the button from on to off or vice versa.
Oh, that's new. Start time.
Yeah, start time equals milliseconds.
What does that do?
So this is passed since the board has reset the code.
Okay.
So it's going to restart the entire code, and the delay is going to be 30 milliseconds in between each time it does that loop. Down here we say if the value is high and the old value is high, then we're going to do state equals 1, and also the milliseconds minus the start time if it's greater than 500. So more than 500 milliseconds, then you want to increase the brightness by 1.
Ah, by doing brightness,
so brightness plus means +1 in C. And then there's going to be a delay of 10 milliseconds in between each increment of 0 to 255, so it doesn't get bright super fast.
So it's going to loop through that, and it's going to be like, so you're going to go from brightness 0 to brightness 1.
Yes.
And then after 10 milliseconds to 2 to 3, to all the way up to 255.
And then, of course, if the brightness hits 255, if it's greater than 255 max brightness, then it goes back down to 0.
And you're not going to like overbright it. If you told the brightness to go to 256, it just wouldn't do anything.
It won't do anything because the LED can't.
So once it goes higher than that, then you're like, okay, and did you just say when it gets to 255, just go back to 0?
Yes.
Oh, okay, because I was about to say, you could just loop through again, just like you had done before, but instead of brightness plus?
Yeah, I could do brightness minus. I think it's -1.
No, it would just be minus.
Minus. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can do that
or
too.
you could do brightness equals
so
brightness
then it would
minus
go all
1.
the way up and then go all the way down, and it would fade back and forth.
Because this is what I want to see you do.
Which can be really cool.
I want to see you do because this is one LED. I want to see you do a Cylon pattern.
That's what I want to do. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So I did this and I was like, oh, Cylons! So then at the very end, the last part of my code says if the state equals on, then you want to turn the LED on at its current brightness. So if this is just pressing it. And then else, if the LED equals 0, then you just turn it off.
Right.
So now, let me verify this code. And this will take a little bit, so let's just fast forward this. And then we want to hit upload, and we'll upload the code over to the Arduino Uno.
You know when you hit upload, it compiles as well?
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's what it's doing. Okay, so now I've got my LED.
Mm-hmm. You want to hold?
Yeah, sure.
Can I hold that for you?
You got it? Okay.
Yep.
So hopefully you can see it.
Oh,
so
yeah,
that's just
I can
pressing.
see it.
And that's just pressing again, and it turns off. Now, if I hold it, it'll go from 0 up to 255.
I totally see it doing that.
It'll wait a few milliseconds, start over, and it increments by 10 milliseconds in between each value.
Wow.
Pretty cool, right?
That is cool. Hey, Paul, can you happen to get that in this camera right here?
Yeah, we can get a little close up.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Can you see it?
Okay, holding it down. There it goes.
Take your hand away and hold it up to the black.
There we go.
And rotate it. There you go.
Okay.
Ha! We can see it now. You see that? Isn't that cool? And I'll get a close-up picture so you can see exactly where I put my resistors and where I put all my different wires so that they're in the correct pins. And I have the resistor going from ground over to the actual LED. I also wanted to mention I learned something new about LEDs. On the ground side, if you already have it plugged into your breadboard, there's a flat end to it. On the bottom part of your LED, there's a flat edge right here. And that means that it's ground. On the other side, it's circular as usual. But this side is flat. Isn't that cool?
What?
I learned something new. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Seriously,
but that way you
you
don't
know
have to unplug your LED. You can just touch the side of it and see if one of the sides is flat.
You know,
That's
the way
ground.
that I've always done it to know the difference between the anode and the cathode is the length of the wires coming off of it.
Oh, yeah.
But then again, if you're
what
recycling
if
from
it's
a
already
different
plugged in?
project, right? Yeah, if I had
And
like
you've cut
unsoldered it
them.
from some other
Yeah.
board, and
So that way you can just
kinda
touch the
rad.
side of it. Ha ha
it's
ha.
not going to be on surface mount one,
Pretty
but that's
cool.
still pretty
So
cool.
now I want to build a Cylon, and this is where we all die.
Yes, let the skin jobs take us over.
But I thought it was pretty cool. Good way to get started on Arduino. Nice little like halfway point of starting to build ideas on top of the different components.
I love it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, with that, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get our SSH Tunneling right into your heart from Android. Doesn't matter if you're an anode or a cathode, when that killer idea hits, you're gonna need to snag yourself a domain name and web hosting fast. You're like, whoosh, reel it in. And with domain.com, they've got a quick domain discovery system and an easy checkout process. And what that means is your website will be up and running in like no time. They've got like a time warp system where the domains, they happen immediately. Something like that. And I told you guys how much I love domain.com. I mean, mainly because they're affordable, reliable, and easy to use, but mostly, and you'll know if you tweet them at domain.com, you'll find out it's really just a fun place to do business. The guys are awesome, and they are huge fans of Hak5, and they want to hook you up. They're huge fans of Hak5, and they want to hack you up. Either way you do it, they've got a coupon code called HAK5 that you can use at checkout to get yourself an extra 15% off. So when you think domain names, think domain.com.
It is time for the trivia question of the week. Last week's trivia question was, and this is probably pretty easy for some of you guys, is the wavelength of infrared light too long or too short to be seen by humans? And the answer is too long. This week's question is, what science fiction writer wrote the 3 laws of robotics? You can answer that at hak5.org/trivia for your chance to win some awesome Hak5 goodies.
SSH tunneling your traffic. We have talked about it numerous times in the past. It is a very convenient way to make your internet traffic go through an SSH pipe over to your other end where you've got like a server, say in a cloud on a virtual private server, or even just at your home. And what that does is it encapsulates, very similar to a VPN, all of your traffic through what we call a SOCKS proxy, and it makes it so that if anybody's sniffing your traffic, is kind of just garbage to them. It encrypts it with all the good stuff. We love it. We've used it on our laptops, whether it's using Linux and DropBear and OpenSSH, or even Windows with Plink and Putty. But what about Android? And we got just that question on Twitter from Wing, who asked, got any recommendations for SSH tunneling apps for Android? And yes, I do. In fact, I have 2 awesome ways to do this. Today, we're going to go through the first way on our brand new set here, where I can show you cool Android-y stuff, talking about ways to do just browsing through SSH proxies without root. And then we're going to build on top of that next week and do it with root for everything on our phone. This is something that's also like something I'm really concerned with, considering I'm about to be traveling internationally, and I always get super paranoid when it comes to that kind of stuff, so it's time to encrypt all the things, and let's start with the simplest way first. This way, when we do it the hard way, it'll like build character. So first off, we're going to need 2 apps. You can just get these from the Play Store. First is Connectbot. It is kind of like an old standby. I prefer Juice SSH, but that's just me. But Connectbot, a lot of people swear by this. It is essentially a terminal that does SSH, and it's rad, right? And then the other thing we're going to need is Firefox, which I should not have to explain because it's Firefox. So we're going to go ahead here and pop open our fresh install here of Connectbot, and we can just quickly connect to a machine by doing, and in this case, I'm using a really bad example of logging in as root. Don't do that. We've talked about that in the past, but considering for this example I was not going through the trouble of setting up any users, we're going to go ahead and just do it this way. So I have a VPS set up at 162, little throwaway server, .220, there we go. And so what you'll do is enter in your username at your host. So if that host happens to be an SSH server running on your home machine, this will be your public IP, assuming that you've port forwarded port 22. Otherwise, whatever server you have in the cloud, I mean, shelves are cheap, so you should definitely have one. I'm going to go ahead and hit done, and we will connect to that. The font is extremely small. We're presented with our key fingerprint just like we would normally on Linux, and it matches what I'm expecting, so I'm going to go ahead and say yes. And at this point I'm going to go ahead and enter in a terrible password and hit done, and there we go, I'm all set. Now what I'll want to do in this case is actually increase this font size by pulling down the keyboard and hitting the menu key and saying force size. And 80 by 25, that's a great size. I'm going to go ahead and resize that. And now, if I rotate this, doesn't want to rotate. Okay. It looks a lot better. So here we are. We're SSH'd into our server. I can LS. I can see all the little files and all the goodies that I have going on here. What I'll want to do at this point is set up a port forward. So quite simply, we lower our keyboard, hit the little 3 dots in the bottom right, the little menu key, or if you have a hardware menu key, and go into port forwards. Okay, so we're not going to see any port forward, so again, we'll hit that menu key, and we'll hit add port forward. We can call this whatever. Sure, I'll call it SOCKS, because we're creating a SOCKS proxy. Under your type, you'll want, not local, but you'll want dynamic SOCKS. So this is very similar to using SSH with the TAC capital D option. And then we'll need a source port. This port just has to be over 1024. 8080 is a very common one to be used. And I'm going to use a source port of 1337 because I'm feeling kind of elite today, and I'm going to create my port forward. And there we go. That's it. If you tap it, it will cross it out saying, no, we're not using that. If we untap it, there we go. Our port forward is happening, and everything is good to go. My session is still live. So let's go over to Firefox, and we're just going to need to make a little configuration change here, and that is to go to about:config. Once we're at about config, hang on, if I could spell config, C-O-N-F-I-G. This is where all of the underlying goodies are within the Firefox for Android. It's very similar to what you would find on a desktop as well. And what we'll do here is, thankfully, there's a search feature in the top right where we can just go ahead and enter in just the kind of settings that we're looking for. It's kind of like your Windows registry, actually. So in this case, we're looking for network.proxy.socks. We enter that in, and we can see here we've got no value for any of this stuff. We'll want to set our network.proxy.socks to, go ahead and change that to 127. Come here, keyboard. To 127.0.0.1. That is our local host. The port, just as we had configured previously, is 1337. And then right here where it says proxy socks remote DNS, we definitely want to toggle this to true. What that is saying essentially is that if we're making DNS requests, which we do every time we try to look up, say, foobar.com to the IP address it is, we want to do those requests through the SSH tunnel. Otherwise, while no one could, sniffing your traffic, see the contents of the data, they would see where you're resolving DNS queries and kind of know where you're browsing. And that's not fun, so we'll definitely set that to true. We'll leave the network proxy socks version at 5, that's the default, and that's the socks kind of proxy we have. And then one last thing here is to go over to network.proxy.type. And in that case, what we'll want to do is change this from 5 to 1. Okay, so that's going to use that for all of our stuff. And at this point, let me just switch back over to Connectbot. Yep, and connect back to our server. And make sure that we have our port forwards going. Yep, socks is going. And if I now, in, say, Firefox, I could browse anywhere. Here I am browsing over to the marketplace, and it's going through the proxy. I can tell it is by if I do a search here for what is my IP and hit Google. Yes, you can just do a Google search for what is my IP. I'm going to see here 162.220.160.217, and that is the same IP address as the SOCKS proxy, the virtual private server that we set up in the cloud, and there we go. Sure, it's a lot of steps, sure, it's a manual process, but I want to kind of show you that it's possible on Android without root first before we step into the let's make it do all the things. Because at this point, only our Firefox browsing session is going to go through that proxy. We're going to be able to expand on this a lot more. I'm really thankful for the question, and I'm looking forward to your feedback. You can always just comment below or hit us up, feedback@hak5.org. Let us know what you think. And with that, we're just going to take a quick break and be right back.
Hey everybody, Patrick Norton here. I co-host Tech Thing with Shannon, and you might be wondering what's coming up on the show this week. Glad you asked. We're going to be talking about getting around region-locked video. It's not just for curling. We're going to show you the finer points of getting into your first drone without breaking the bank. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a whole bunch of questions from viewers just like you. Come check it out, youtube.com/c/techthing. And back to you guys getting your hack on.
Shannon, did you know that there's actually a 3 Laws of Robotics Easter egg in the USB rubber ducky promo video on the Hack Shop?
What?
Yeah,
I
there
did
is.
not know
Yeah,
that.
it's just a whoop, real quick.
I have to watch it again
Real
now.
quick, I know, there's a lot of fun things just hidden all over.
This
yes.
was a great episode.
This
I had
was a lot of fun
with it. So thank you guys, as always, for watching. Of course, if you want to support us, you can go over to hakshop.com. That's where you can buy all of the Wi-Fi pineapples and rubber ducky goodies and everything else that we have in the store.
Yep, coconuts and bananas and
Coconut.
all sorts of fruit that will make your network fun.
And you can also email us over at feedback@hak5.org with your questions, comments, or flames.
Yes, and thank you just for supporting all of the fun shows that we were doing here, including Tech Thing with Shannon and Metasploit Minute with Mubix. If you haven't checked those out, you can find them at hak5.org. You can also find them on our YouTube channel, and that's where you can subscribe to always get all the goodies. And with all of that, I'm Darren Kitchen.
I'm Shannon Morse.
We're reminding you
Trust your technoless.
what she said.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Boom. Le Google.
You know, because they're French. Those French electronics manufacturers. You've heard of them. Both of them. There's La Fanera and now La Google, or LG. All right, all right. I know how to start a segment.
I can only name Ollie. Sometimes.
I know, it's all that you can do.
This mini computer will kill you.